Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to Wizard World Virtual Experiences. As the crowd emojis wildly, you can clap too in the safety of your home. But definitely show us those emojis, show us those thumbs up, those heart emojis, all the funky things that you can come up with on Twitch. We are streaming to you completely free and live on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube to the comfort and safety of your home. We cannot wait to get back to physical conventions in convention halls and see all of your lovely faces and your awesome cosplay. But for the time being, we are doing these virtual conventions and these virtual panels. We're going to continue them even when we get back to physical conventions because they have been going great. And we have been reaching folks around the world and folks that wouldn't normally be able to afford or get to a physical convention are enjoying these free panels. So again, we love having you here. So shout out to all of you fans watching us at Wizard World Virtual Experiences. Don't forget to check out all of our upcoming experiences at wizardworldvirtual.com. Again, that's wizardworldvirtual.com for all your Comic-Con needs. And don't also head to the Wizard World Vault. It is our best attempt right now at a virtual convention floor. We've got works of art, we've got items and memorabilia from our amazing vendors and artists from our conventions. So definitely check out all that memorabilia, signed works of art, and autographs at the Wizard World Vault from all of our past virtual experiences and past physical conventions. Also, shout out to our sponsor for these last week and this week and upcoming, Go Collect Comics. That's right, Go Collect Comics. It's your one-stop shop for all things collecting. They track the sales of graded comics. Come on, let's bring back that comic collecting life. Just because it's virtual doesn't mean, and digital doesn't mean you can't still collect and get your comics graded. Especially, they've got Last of the Viking Heroes up there, Thor, Vikings, #1. I don't know if you know the segue or you see where I'm going here with this, but they have analysis tools for their users. They stay active on social media and have giveaways every week. Go Collect also has an expansive blog, both a written blog and video blog. They have super awesome videos, so check them out. Topics on comic book speculations, video games, concert posters. Go Collect's goal is simple: to make collecting better. So be sure to collect them out. GoCollect.com. You can also click on their logo directly underneath me on Twitch. So again, shout out for them for sponsoring today's panel and our week of panels this week. I am so excited to bring out these next two actors who joined us. The first person joined us, I think, since season 2 and has been officially a series regular in season 6, but has been with us throughout. And then we were joined by this recent amazing actor in this half season 6, which we're so excited. If you're a Viking fan like me out there, we're so excited to get to that second half and figure out when that is happening, and then a potential spinoff. So it's going to be great to chat with them today. So that is enough talking and ballyhoo for me. Let's bring them out. One of our favorite shield maidens. She has made her way through many of the brothers of the Vikings, to name some of them: Jarl Borg, Erlindor, Ube. Oh my gosh. But let's bring her out. Playing Torvi, it's Georgia Hurst, everyone. Hey, Georgia. Thank you so much.
I'm not sure about that
intro. I didn't mean to. I know. I made their way
What you mean, but
yeah, not like I know. We know what happens on the series.
Listen.
Yeah.
It happens.
And listen, I mean, let's be honest. Obviously, it is the story of some of our famous male Vikings, but the women are really the backstory. You know what I mean? They're the people behind those men. And I think Torvi, and again,
every strong woman is behind every strong man is a strong woman.
Oh my gosh. And that's one of the most beautiful things about this series is you're really seeing that culture, specifically how well regarded the women were. Obviously there's some things that happen to them that is less than fortunate. Yeah. Just like happened to this upcoming character, but they're also regarded for their strength and their wisdom and, they're taking care of their families and upbringing. So Torvi, definitely one of those women, in addition to many of the other characters. So sorry that I set you up that way, Georgia. Let's bring out this next guest, just joining us in season 6, but again, such an important character and another strong woman that has come through, a citizen of Kattegat, the secret mistress of Bjorn Ironside, Ingrid. Let's bring out Lucy Martin.
Hello,
Lucy. Thank you so much for being here. Both of you ladies, again, so good to have you. What an amazing series. There is a lot of historical fiction out there, historical fiction series out there. I know, Georgia, your father specifically, Michael, has created The Tudors and numerous other series. What do you think? I just want to get things started, and then we're going to go to our fans. We have fans watching from around the globe on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. And we're going to be going to their questions. So if you do have a question, fans, make sure to tag at Wizard World and submit your questions live. But I just want to, let's start with you, Georgia. What has it been like to be part of this series? And what do you think sets Vikings apart and made it so successful, given, a lot of competition out there from other historical dramas and historical fictions?
Well, I kind of think you hit the nail on the head at the beginning of this conversation, talking about the strong women. And I certainly think Lagatha, played by Catherine Winnick, was really the kind of pulling force. People were really attracted to the series because she was just badass. And it obviously, Travis Fimmel, who's Ragnar, is amazing and everyone loves him. But I really do think that my dad really made a show for strong women, and there really aren't that many shows that do that. And so I kind of think that was it. And who doesn't want to play like a badass woman, like in leather, wielding a sword? Like, obviously, yes, please. And it was amazing to be part of it. Obviously, it's been a great adventure, I must say.
Yeah. Was there being involved so early in the early seasons, obviously every show, takes a little while to get that traction with fans. It debuted on History Channel, which before Vikings, really, they had a few like mini series.
They did like Ice Road Truckers, which I but it was just a different thing.
Yeah, different thing. There are a lot of reality series, like you said, Georgia. I think there were a couple of mini series on some of like the American Revolutions and things like that, but really nothing like this. When was the moment where you sort of saw like, oh, this is like for a fictional series, on a historic network or, a channel based on history? When did you see that popularity start to grow?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I remember season 2 and season 3. I didn't really think much of it. As in, I still, even in season 6, to be fair, I would go to work and I would just be with my mates going to work. I never remembered anyone was watching. I really would never think of it that way. I'd just be like, oh, my scenes are done for the day. Go out with my friends now. And then you'd watch the TV and be like, oh yes, people are actually seeing this. So I think it was probably season 4. I went to LA actually with Josephine and Ida, who played Margaret and Astrid.
Yes.
And we were at a coffee shop, and I was greeted by a sort of team of paparazzi, and I was like, Kim Kardashian's here, guys. I was like, and Josephine was like, smile, they're looking at you. And I was like, and I think that was literally the first time and then that trip I hit, I think 10,000K on Instagram. And then ever since then, it's been kind of a big deal. But until then, I never really noticed. And especially in England, I don't always get a lot of people recognizing me. But when people come up to me in clubs and stuff, I remember that it's a thing, or they come up to me in the street. So I'm always surprised, but it's a nice feeling. But I kind of still don't realize how much of a big deal it is.
Yeah, there was a hunger, back then, and a lot of, again, competition. Obviously, Game of Thrones was a huge series at the time, and Vikings was coming in as this again new. We were seeing just from the previews like swords and axes, and we were like, oh, it's just another Game of Thrones, right? But no, it really did something different. Like you said, it portrayed famous characters from history and really, took them hard. Obviously, historical fiction. There are some fictionalized moments, but also a lot of us history nerds like myself could go look it up on Google and Wikipedia and be like, oh man, Ragnar was a real person. That's so cool. And like, this did happen. And then, now we're seeing it kind of, in this fun fictionalized world. Super awesome. Lucy, tell us a little bit about, obviously you joined us in season 6. And that's such another, one of my favorite parts of the show is that just when you think you've like got the established characters and like who's in charge or who's boss or who's going to be king or queen, like another character comes into the mix and kind of starts to mess with things. Not mess with things, but be part of the storyline. What was it like coming in season 6, and being a new part of this already successful show?
It was amazing. I think because it was already at such a level. I was probably very nervous and I didn't actually know what was going to happen with my character at the time. Sure. So and I never actually knew. It was when I'd get the next episode that I actually knew what was going on. yeah, it was a great experience. I loved being a part of the show. It's weird. I'm just as excited to see the next half, because obviously you do it and then you kind of not forget about it, but you don't know what it's going to look like, or you don't know how it's going to be portrayed or what people are going to think. So
and is it, you know, I know everyone ended in a different state depending on what time things were. You guys are completely finished production wise with season 6 in terms of filming. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So you know what's happening, but we don't know what's going to happen. So we don't want to spoil. We don't want to spoil it for the fans. You know, we might talk a little bit about what you're excited for, not giving away plot details, but just like, you know, what you're looking for the potential. I know we're doing, you know, a potential spinoff coming up, but you know, this could be the end of this sort of arc, if you will, you know, of Ragnar and his family. So we're sad to see that part go, but we're excited to see the ending of it coming up. There are a ton of folks watching from around the world. I just want to give a shout out to our fans watching from Italy right now, Nashville, New Jersey, Connecticut, Oklahoma, Arkansas, France, London, Finland. This series like truly has a wide range. And it's so amazing. So I want to get to some of their questions. This is specifically from a lot of people are asking similar questions about your favorite moments. So this is from Lady Lizzie, who's watching, and also Klomidgard. Oh, Klomidgard. I like that. It's kind of like I got a Norwegian flair to it. Klomidgard is watching from France, and just as curious from both of you, what do you have a favorite scene or a favorite character moment from the series so far? Georgia, you have obviously a lot more to pull from. Lucy, you've got your the first half of the season 6 that we've seen. Maybe we'll start with you, Lucy. We'll give Georgia some time to think. But coming in, you know, is there been a favorite moment or scene that you've been excited to see?
From the first half, my favorite scene was probably my opening scene that I did, because that happened on my first day of shooting. It's like my first ever day. And I just remember like walking around the set and being like, this is amazing, and suddenly going down. So yeah, it's quite a vivid memory for me. So yeah, that's my favorite scene, I reckon. Very
cool. Awesome. Georgia, thoughts?
I mean, I have so many, and I'm sure I've forgotten so many as well. I liked giving birth. I thought that was pretty epic. I mean, It was definitely a challenge. In the UK, we have a show called One Born Every Minute, which if you're English, you'll know is just an hour episode of women giving birth. And I watched a lot of that, and I did a lot of practicing. And Jordan, who plays Uber, was there with me, and he said he was traumatized afterwards because I really screamed bloody murder. Like I was going for it. That was pretty epic. Any fight scenes, really. The first season I did fight stuff, I was so out of my element. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't like it at all. And then I came back after a long break for the next season, and suddenly I was like, well, I'll just throw myself into it. Even if I'm not the most technical, I'll just throw myself into it. And I did, and I had a lot of fun. And those were always the best to watch back because you just felt particularly badass. So I would say any kind of stunt stuff, riding horse stuff, you always felt pretty empowered doing that.
Yeah, and that's I shouted out a bunch of countries, and then all the rest of them tuned in or wanted to shout out as well. Romania is watching, Germany is watching, Greece. Oh my gosh, so cool. And Tyrion, there's a person watching on Twitch with the hashtag at their handle Tyrion Lannister, which is obviously a classic character from Game of Thrones, that said Vikings was way better than Game of Thrones. So we even have a Game of Thrones fan that is saying live that Vikings is
the world to me.
No, my gosh, that's huge. Tyrion Lannister himself is saying that Vikings is better. Wow. Georgia, you mentioned the fight scenes. Obviously, such a huge part of the show is their focus on those battles and those epic battles, which is, again, it's another part of everyone's favorite part of the show. And Jeremis_MC. I was just curious what kind of prep is needed for the battle scenes, sword, and any kind of sword choreography that you had to do.
Well, usually like the week before, you might have 2 or 3 sessions to go over the choreography. Me, on the other hand, being the annoying person that I am, would insist on about 3 weeks preparation, which was really irritating to the stunt coordinators because they'd have to prepare my things separately, like way in advance. But I was like, I just would have to know every single move. And they would always tell me, like, Georgia, on the day, this will probably change. And I'd be like, no, that's fine. I just have to like know what I'm doing. So for me, it would be about 3 weeks. And even on the day, I'd be so nervous. I'd be practicing with the stunt guys right up until we called action. And then Jordan would be like, oh yeah, I've only done these once. And then he'd be like whipping around, like he was the best at stunts. I mean, I have to say he was so skilled. He just naturally, his body just moved in that direction. Like I just was a bit like my feet and my hands weren't coordinated. So for me, about 3 weeks. For the average person, probably a couple of sessions for a week. And then on the day, it would just be, it would all go up. Like it would just change completely, and mud would be flung in your face, and it would just be a whole nother story.
Was there a particular any injuries on set? You know, we never want any of that to happen,
Yeah.
but with that amount of people throwing, you know, swords at each other,
Yeah,
obviously.
there were broken bones, bloody head, like people got whacked. I hit my stunt guy right in the head, by mistake, obviously. So there were a few kind of gruesome injuries, especially when you're that cold and it's muddy and it's slippy. Like you have to be very careful. And accidents happen. You hit your fingers. You know, I'd always have bloody knuckles and stuff. But luckily, I got away unscathed. And actually, I would ask Tom McInerney, who was head of makeup, every time I did a battle, I'd be like, "Please give me a scar on my face." I just really feel like, and he would never let me, unfortunately. But I tried. Didn't work in my favor.
Lucy, any I'll be completely honest. I've started season 6 after kind of binging through 5, and so I don't know everything that happens to your character. And I know we're only like a few episodes in, but any big kind of things on set that were especially epic for Ingrid in terms of prep work or sort of getting ready for it?
Well, I had a rape scene. So that was there was obviously, that actually does involve like stunt work, or the way that we played it anyway.
For sure.
So I did have some prep for that, so it's a bit darker, but
a mental preparation, I would imagine, for that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I mean, even after we did the scene, I remember still like it took me a minute to sort of come out of it. Yeah, but the director who I was working with at the time, he was amazing, and so was Peter, who I was working with. So yeah, it was yeah, that was a bit of a learning curve doing that, but that was good.
No, for sure. And Taylor Nicole asked the question, what was the hardest obstacle / scene you had to face? I imagine it was that scene, Lucy.
Yes, it was. Yeah, and yeah, it was. Yeah, I think Georgia got it there, just like preparing for that scene, because it's quite difficult to prepare for that if you haven't experienced anything like that. So
yeah, and obviously the show doesn't shy away from brutality when it comes to both war and physical, but then also rape and on that such. And you know, I think it does a good job, does a good job, as best a job as you can, of addressing that this was something that happened, you know what I mean? And let's see, you know, how these characters kind of handle it and deal with it. But tough scenes for sure. And not
also
something.
You have that scene, I think, where Lagatha doesn't she rape Harold?
Yeah.
So we have it both ways, which I think is quite good as well.
Yeah.
That was kind of important, I think, for Catherine to have that scene. So there's a lot of interesting dynamics going on, that's for sure.
Yeah. What did you think? So obviously we mentioned at the beginning that this is based on historical characters, you know, people that existed. There are some liberties taken, obviously, to make it dramatic and, you know, make it entertaining for TV. It's historical fiction, but it doesn't, you know, shy away from that. But again, I'm a super huge Viking history nerd and Norwegian mythology nerd. Eric F 1506, and I love that they bring the mythology in, because it's gonna be easier to like ignore that and be like, no, it's just history. But they bring in the magical, you know, maybe magical is the wrong word, but you know what I mean, the magical side of things as well. Mythical. There we go. Thank you, Julie. The mythical side of things as well. And Eric F 1506 is just wondering, you know, what did you know about Vikings and Viking history and mythology before coming into the series, or did you do any kind of research leading into bringing on your roles?
Well, I knew very little about it other than my dad was writing the show, but I still didn't really know what it was about or anything. And before I got involved, I did do a little bit of research. I discovered that they were very clean, the cleanest of all people, apparently. And that was pretty much it. I was really thrown in the dark, and I learned so much along the way. I mean, I learned about rituals. I did so many rituals as Torvi, a lot of them you haven't seen yet. But I learned a lot of Old Norse. I mean, things, just their habitual things that they do when they have babies and when they move into new houses, they bless the house. I mean, things like that I just never knew. And a lot of it I don't think you necessarily find online. You find a lot of the kind of sort of surface level information, and when you're on set, I can't say what happens in the next season, but you will see I learned a whole new bit of history, which I just learned so much. And I definitely would never have had any of that education if it hadn't been for the show. So I learned on the job, but I learned a lot, I like to think.
It's a beautiful mythology for sure. And it's so interesting to see different cultures, you know, what they grew up with and what they continue to believe in. It's very, very cool. Lucy, any sort of prior research or prior knowledge of Viking history or mythology?
No, unfortunately not until I was actually auditioning for the show, and then I watched the whole show. So no, I didn't. But again, the same, I learned a lot on the show, and funnily reading her script as well, because we got sent the whole thing, just reading everything through. Yeah.
Is there anything that sticks out to you, both of you, as being particularly intriguing? I know, Georgia, you mentioned the rituals and sort of the way they went through their daily lives and things like that. But I don't know, anything else from their mythology that stuck out to you as like, oh, that's very cool or interesting?
Their sacrifices that they sacrifice themselves a lot of the time, and that you can't sacrifice yourself when you're pregnant. I learned the hard way. So that was news to me. And also that I've heard, I don't know if this is true or not, but they were all very sexually fluid, apparently.
Yeah.
There was really no criticizing who you loved, who you fancied. And I think really they had a pretty level-headed way of living. You know, they had a very clear system. And sometimes I feel like we could take a leaf out of the Vikings books, because they actually did things quite well. If someone was in trouble, they'd just sort them out and they'd bring them to the town hall, and everyone would have a big discussion about it. So I kind of think they lived a more of a straightforward life. And they were interesting people. I mean, they really were.
That's a great way to put it. It was, there no politics other than the sword, right? You know what I mean? It was whoever, and the series starts that off within the first few episodes, you know, of like that trial scene, and how it's just really about the people all deciding together what they think is important, you know, as a group. Obviously there's different levels and taking over and things like that, but when it comes down to it, it's all up to the people, no matter race or gender, you know, anything like that, which is This is we mentioned strong women up front, and this is a question specifically coming from Ashes to Dust 93. How does it feel? We acknowledged that the series is really surrounded by strong women, but they want to know personally, you know, how does it feel playing such a strong female role model for women today in the series?
Lucy?
I think, is that for you or me?
For both of you. I know we haven't seen much of Ingrid yet, but obviously still a strong character, you know. Or just knowing that the series has that resonation, you know, with fans, you know, that they're seeing the strong women and acknowledging that that's an important message for today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's really empowering. Yes. I mean, it was something that I loved about the show when I watched it. It was actually Catherine's performance that when I first met her, I said, I think your performance in the show is fantastic. Yeah. And to be a female in the show, and to watch other female actors was, it was just a really empowering feeling. And like Georgia said earlier, there aren't many shows that have that, that each individual is that strong. So it's very empowering. What do you think, Georgia?
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like also there's so many levels to being like a strong woman,
Yes.
which isn't always wielding a sword. It's having children and being a great mother and being in love. And I felt like we make funny jokes about Torvi going through half of Kattegat, which is fun, which is fair play and it's funny. But really, I was like, she's a young girl. She probably fancies a lot of people. She dates Bjorn. Bjorn cheats on her. She dumps him. Her brother's really lovely and says he loves her. And, I kind of wanted Torvi to be like human. The amazing thing about Lagertha is that she's got that almost superhuman strength. Like she is holds the show up. Like she needs to be strong. But I really wanted to be strong and very human. And I wanted to cry and have breakups and have children and have nightmare situations. I felt like that would make a really well-rounded character. And I think people like someone who you can see their faults and you can see their weaknesses. So I think Torvi, I mean, the latter part of the show, you'll see she kind of stops fighting. She kind of just wants to have a family and focus on being a mother. And I still felt like Torvi, if anything, was even stronger then than when she was fighting in battle. So I think the idea of a strong woman, there's so many different like sides of that that I think are embodied in the show.
No, that's an awesome point, because I think the common misconception these days is, being a strong woman means, oh, you have to have a career, but that means you can't have a family. You know what I mean? But really, but this series, it sets it up super early with Lagertha. With the scene again, this is like season 1, but some folks come into her home to rape her. She's there with her children, and not only is she taking care of her children, but she's able to fight for herself at the same time. And we see that time and time again, where Ragnar, did some cool things, but he leaves, he comes back. She's stuck with, she's doing the family and defending her country at the same time. And and this is going to be a bit of spoiler for fans. So spoiler alert, if you haven't caught up at season 6 yet, turn your cameras off right now. Turn your cameras off right now. But it is because we're just on her as a character and questions are coming up, obviously. Mute yourself now. Tyrion Lannister, specifically from before, wants to know how you felt about the death, and how emotional was that for you as an actor, but then just as your character kind of approaching that episode and that scene.
Yeah, well, when you actually asked me what the hardest scene to film was, I was going to say that, but I don't know. A lot of people still haven't caught up.
Yes.
So I'm like scared, to say. But that I was actually so upset. And in a way, those scenes were my favorite scenes because I felt so genuinely sad that she was leaving, just as a threat from being my friend. I could not stop crying. I would cry the whole time. And I had these scenes where I just had to cry back to back. And my scenes were it was over a couple of episodes. So it was something like 4 weeks. And I remember by the end, I literally couldn't cry. I was in these scenes I'm sad, but there are no tears. I'd literally cried it all out. For me, it was really hard. We're still dear friends. I saw her a few months ago and I love her very much, but it was very hard. And I also felt for my character more than myself. I felt for both of us. It was an emotional time. So it was really hard.
Yeah. Lucy, any reactions to that plot point?
Well, I can remember that scene. I remember you, Georgia. I remember your singing, and I remember watching because at that point the camera wasn't on me, and we'd all moved behind, and I cried watching you. But everybody was so emotional because everyone knew what was happening, and and also just Catherine as a person is such a character that when she was leaving, everybody on set was.
I agree.
Yeah, it was a real moment. It was also freezing as well. We were also absolutely freezing and standing still, but all actually emotional. It was quite a moment, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And where's the show primarily filmed? I know you do a lot in Ireland. Is that right? And is that where the show's primarily filmed, or you kind of bounce around?
Yeah, it's mainly in Ireland, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all Ireland. I think they do some of their wider shots. I think sometimes they do a splinter crew to Canada, I believe, and they've done some wider shots, but that's never what we're part of. And Alexander did go to Canada to do his bear fighting thing, and they went to Morocco, which unfortunately I was not invited on that trip. But I did keep saying to my dad, I was like, so how do you feel you know, if the Vikings went to like Hawaii.
Did they go there?
Like once, and we did try, and I think he tried as well. He tried to get it to like a warmer country. It didn't work out for us. So Ireland it was, which was great. It was just really cold.
Yeah, I guess when you sign up for a show called Vikings, you realize you're just going to be in the north somewhere.
I know. There are times when it's such horrible weather here, and I look out and I just think we would have been in that at 4 a.m.
Oh.
Like we were called off set once, and the rest of the time, snow, rain, anything, we were there outside. So tough.
And the weather changes so quickly there that within an hour it could be like snowing at one point, then it's hailing, then it's raining, and you've got to try and get the same shot.
You're trying to take off your massive layers. I mean, it's a lot.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, those historical dramas are so epic because of that. I mean, shout out to the showrunners and the set designers and all the crew, and costumes. My gosh, because that's really what transports us as an audience, you know, is seeing you all in the environments that these people lived in, you know, and still live in, but obviously at the time, you know, with different. Let's talk about you mentioned the costumes a little bit. The fans always want to know about the costumes, and then Stacey Hopkins wants to know, because the women have some, the men too, but the women have some amazing hair in this, and Stacey's just curious about the hair. You know, how much of it is wigs? It's done? You know, have you gotten good at doing the braids? So let's just talk about the hairstyles for Stacey watching out there.
Hey, Stacey.
George, did you want to go? You've got better. You had loads of hairstyles, didn't you? I'll go.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, I'll go. The doing their hair generally, I remember I'd been in the chair for. It started off quite simple, just doing braids and plaits and stuff. But it was all my own hair. But then sometimes I'd have extensions. But as far as I think our colours were done, but yeah, it was all natural for me anyway.
And how long does it take you? I don't know if you said. How long does it take?
Like an hour and a half.
Wow. Yeah.
An hour and a half, depending. And also if you were doing more than one scene in one day and you had a different look, then you have to go and take it all out and put it all and change the whole thing. I mean, the everyone doing the hair was amazing. I'm actually no good at hair. So I was just amazed. I tried to watch. I can plait my hair now, which is good.
Yeah, I think I remember doing Torvi hair Tuesdays way back. And I think that's how my Instagram started getting a little bit bigger, was I would just document every hairstyle that I had.
Yep.
And that started getting people kind of interested. And then it got to a point where every single day I'd have to have a different style. So I would sit down and be like Dee, who was the head of hair, and Zalika, who did my hair. For them, every single day I'd be like, I just saw this on like the red carpet, and I really think if we adapt it would be really cool. So I had really tight cornrow braids, I had straight back high ponytails, all thanks to like modern culture influencing that, which I just thought was really fun and really cool. And it was really my favorite part of the day, was going to get my hair done. And I have to say, I think my hairstyles were the best on the show, because they were always so different. And that was thanks to everyone that allowed me to have my really annoying tendencies. So I'd bring a magazine in on the Monday and be like, please. And by the end, I mean, it was like, it only took an hour really. And I'd sleep in my braids because they'd get so complicated. I'd end up having to, like, I was punished in the end. Like I would have to sleep in these like tight braids just to make it so in the morning we would have time. But it was all worth it, I think.
Yeah. Have you acquired any skills besides Lucy's
not.
parting?
No. During lockdown, I had a braiding book. And I was like, this is it, I'm going to learn to braid my hair. And I did it for like 2 seconds. And I was like, oh, no, it's not for me. It's not for me. Actually, me and Catherine Winnick were thinking of coming out with a book all about braids, which we still might. So that's thinking about that.
It's interesting because that hairstyle, especially for men, has kind of come back. You know, the whole shaving the side of the head with the kind of like the flop over, and then, you know, the braids. I could see people picking that back up, those kind of old Viking hairstyles.
Yeah, I can't believe how many people, I don't know about you, Lucy, but I see people in London like with that hair. And I'm like, there's only one place they would have got it from. I know The Last Kingdom are definitely stealing some of our styles. So
I haven't been watching it.
I haven't watched it, but I've seen the adverts, and they just take that
Okay.
raglan hairstyle completely, but which is all good. But
Doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, we know where the OGs are getting that style from, and
Yeah.
it's definitely Vikings. And I actually see it all the time, and I always assume, I'm like, I wonder if they're a fan of, like, I'll be like behind someone in a supermarket, and I'll be like, I wonder if they watch Vikings, like they must have done. So it definitely has become a trend, and I quite like the look. I think
yeah, me too. I used to love getting my hair done and everything that they did.
Yeah.
Speaking about doing hair and being in lockdown and hobbies and things, a few fans are just curious. Beach 360 specifically, wondering where you're both calling in from and how you've been doing, and if there's any particular hobbies you've picked up during the lockdown or shows you've been binging. Just a little personal insight into your lives. Just let everybody know where you're calling in from, and then what you've been doing to pass the time.
I'm calling from south of Birmingham at the moment. Yeah, at my family home, and I actually went back to London for a little bit, and then I came back to isolate here. What have I been doing? I actually did a yoga instructor course with my time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so yeah, it was very intense. It was like getting up at 6 a.m. or something, which I don't usually do. It's actually a really nice time of day. And I did that for a month and a bit. So I'm now technically a yoga instructor. So that's what I do with my time.
Congrats.
So if they have qualification in drinking rosé? No. I'm from London, and I have just been watching a lot of murder documentaries on Netflix, I must say. It's just crime and that kind of thing. It's right up my street. Anything crime. Right now I'm on Unsolved Mysteries, which is very scary. I don't know why I like to be scared. It's a strange sensation. I'm on my own, so I'm not sure it's like the best idea. But a lot of films, a lot of Netflix.
Nice. Georgia, it sounds like drinking rosé and learning how to braid is like the next blog that you might need to start. Video blog.
I know. Braids and rosé or something.
Yeah, braids and rosé.
I'm going to work on that.
I would watch. I think it'd be entertaining. I know a lot of the fans would watch. A ton of people, while you were talking about the hair, was like, we love the hair. You're both beautiful. We love your hairstyle. So shout out to the fans. MIW Obsessed says she made her husband, or maybe she made their husband sport a Viking haircut just because of the series. So you can see the influence it's having. We are about out of time. This has been such a lovely little chat and conversation. Just a quick reminder to the fans, if you've got specific questions that you would like to ask these amazing actors, definitely head to Wizard World Virtual now. Whether you're watching this live or you're watching it a little later in the week, they are on sale for a few days after the panel. So definitely take advantage of those one-on-one video chats. You can be with a Wizard World employee and this amazing person in a Zoom call and ask them, all of your questions. So take advantage of that. Those one-on-one video chats. They're also doing autographs and video recorded messages. So if you've got a special loved one that you want to give a little birthday treat to, or just a special shout out, if you're able to take advantage of those things. But I want to end with this, ladies, and we brought it up a couple times. Obviously, we are waiting for season 6, and I don't want to talk spoilers because it's more fun to watch it live and be into it. But
I don't remember it, so.
Well, there you go.
That's spoil you if I wanted to.
That's the good answer, George. It's like, I don't remember it. It's been so long ago. But a bunch of fans are wondering, Broken Lantern 9, family of our ex. A few folks are just wondering, what was it like? What were the feelings, the emotions that you had shooting these final scenes of what we're about to see? So just, maybe emotions that you had filming your final days, or just even things that you're excited about. What can we look forward to moving ahead with Vikings?
Well, I was happy it was finishing and sad. It was just a mixture of both things. I think for some people, I don't know about you, Lucy, because you weren't in it as long as me, you probably could have had a few more years in you. Whereas I felt like I'd maxed out in the nicest way. It was amazing. I didn't feel necessarily that my character had much more to give. And she has this amazing evolution. So, I kind of was happy leaving it where it was. But the last season, I mean, it's wild, I have to say. You guys are going to see a whole new different side of Torvi and Uber, and I don't think you'll be expecting what you see, is all I can say.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. That's good. We like the,
so you can remember it.
Like, I remember that it was wild and that you guys were about to cry.
Brilliant.
General vague terms are always perfect in these kind of settings right now. Epic, wild, unexpected. No.
Done this before.
Yeah.
It's difficult for me to say too much because I don't want to give anything away.
Sure.
But I remember actually feeling quite overwhelmed when I'd finished, even though I hadn't been doing it that long. I think maybe because I was surrounded by lots of people who had been there for so long. So the energy on set was, again, it was a weird feeling, but it kind of felt like it was the right thing, that it was that it was ending. But I don't really want to say about my emotions because I don't want to give anything away.
Yeah. No, that says enough. Just that says Leagues what we're feeling, what we're excited for. No, and we've just barely met Ingrid, and we've left her in a tough place for sure. So we are excited to see how she rises up or falls. We don't know. Don't give anything away. Don't blink once if it's falls. Blink twice if it's
yes.
No. Well, this has been amazing. Again, as a fan, and I speak for all the fans watching again from around the world. Germany, France, the Netherlands, Finland, the UK, obviously across the States, Italy, Romania is in the house too. My gosh, fans from around the world. I just want to say thank you for joining us today and giving us this nice little break from whatever we're up to, whether it's quarantining alone or with family or at work, in the essential job or first responders. Anyway, shout out to everyone watching. I want to give you both just one little final chance to say goodbye to the fans and let us know what. I know things are on hold right now in terms of shooting, but we're about to get back. And I know there were some things left beforehand. So, anything you'd like to say, if it's just a well wish to the fans or any upcoming projects or things that you're excited or looking forward to once we kind of get out of this and we get back to what is now the new normal, not the same normal, but sort of the new normal. Whoever wants to kick it off.
I just want to say thanks to everyone for tuning in. Yeah. It's a kind of a time where platforms like this make everyone feel like united. And it's nice to have a shared interest and a shared passion. And I hope that I'll get to chat to some of you guys on Thursday.
Yeah.
And if you guys have like Xbox, PlayStation, I have like an interactive dating game that will be out soon. That's all about dating in lockdown, which I believe will be a game that is part of an advert on Xbox and PlayStation and all that kind of jazz. So keep an eye out for that and love you all.
Thank you,
That's
Georgia.
exciting, Georgia.
Yeah, I did it in lockdown. I'd filmed the whole thing in lockdown. Crazy, yeah.
It's very cool.
Sorry, I get distracted because I keep getting a yellow shoulder from the sunshine. And like half of me like disappears and starts glowing. I just want to say that I hope everyone's okay and doing well and be kind and look after yourselves. And thanks for tuning in.
Very nice. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, the fans want to know where Floki is, but we're out of time, so we can't get to that question.
Perfect timing.
Perfect timing. We don't have time to get to that question. You'll have to tune in the fall or December, whenever you get it. One more big round of emojis for these amazing actors. We loved seeing them. Please give it up one more time for Georgia Hurst and Lucy Martin, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you so much. They're going to exit this call, and they'll join you again on Thursday for those one-on-one video chats. So definitely take advantage of that. It's a super awesome, once-in-a-lifetime experience to have a one-on-one conversation with these amazing actors where you can ask them all of their questions, and maybe they'll give you some more insider information than they gave us. No, I'm kidding. But we're excited to see them there on Thursday. So definitely purchase those at wizardworldvirtual.com. You can also go to the Vault, the Wizard World Vault, for Viking memorabilia from some of our actors that we've had at past physical conventions and past virtual experiences. So check that out there as well. Follow us at Wizard World on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We have a lot of exciting panels coming up. For the very first time this week, y'all, I am hosting Survivor style nerd trivia. It's $5 to enter on Thursday. 100 people will enter. One will come out. It's Thunderdome style. As we ask questions, if you get one wrong, you are out, and it is time. You have a chance at winning a $500 autograph package. So a bunch of autographs from some of our famous and favorite celebrities. So definitely check that out. We're about to make the announcement soon, but you can find that on wizardworldvirtual.com. We have some amazing panels coming up this week. We have some important announcements coming up for next week specifically. We took a little break for the American holiday, but we'll be back really strong next week. But later on this week, we will be talking to the cast of Blazing Saddles on Thursday. Max Brooks is signing his new book, Devolution, virtually. Pretty cool, on July 11th. And then we have Sons of Anarchy on July 18th. But there are some other things that are coming up next week that we're about to announce. So again, continue to follow us on social media. My name is Mike G. You can follow me at Mike G Does Things on all the socials. If you've got a question for the panelists, you can submit them early and get the inside track on those questions. But it's been a pleasure, as always, joining you on this Monday afternoon or Monday evening if you're in the UK, or Monday at 3 a.m. if you're watching in Australia. So we know we have fans from around the world. It's great to see you again. On behalf of Wizard World Virtual Experiences, I've been Mike G. We'll see you next time. See you, everybody.